Hey, what is going on, everyone? Hope you're doing absolutely amazing. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to be fitter than 99% of Asian men and the 1%. Hey, what is going on, everyone? Hope you're doing absolutely amazing. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to be fitter than 99% of Asian men and the 5 habits that the top 1% share. Now, why should you listen to me? Well, on my own journey, I've been in fitness for over 11 plus years. I lost 30 pounds myself and kept it off, implementing my own culturally aligned system for fat loss. I tried all kinds of diets, the ones you probably heard about, keto, fasting in the past, but the only thing that worked for me was developing my own approach where I could still eat the Asian foods I enjoyed, still balance a busy schedule, and also get in the best shape of my life. And so that kind of sparked my journey for coaching. And over the past 3 years, I've coached over 300 busy Asian men through the exact same process, right? The guys who get truly fit and stay that way all share the same 5 habits, okay? Just like my client, Ivan, who's an architectural designer out of Canada who lost 30 pounds in 6 months, or Rodrigo, a night shift healthcare worker who lost 27 pounds in just 3.5 months, or my client, Vu, who's a data engineer working 10 plus hour days, who lost 45 pounds and got his A1C and cholesterol levels back to normal. So this is what happens when you have these 5 habits in place. Habit number 1, they understand the nutrition on a deep level. Now, why is this the one thing that will actually move the needle for you? It's boring. It's not the most sexy thing. You probably heard every fitness person online talking about nutrition, right? But for almost every guy, nutrition is the real bottleneck, not the gym. Most guys focus on doing more cardio after work, trying to get to the gym after work when they're already drained, trying to do extra runs, right? But they don't realize that the thing that's shooting them in the foot is the fact that they have no real understanding of nutrition, or they don't have a clear plan to follow, right? The top 1%, the top fittest people in the world don't guess with their nutrition. They know exactly what their calorie protein numbers are, and they understand what they're eating. Okay. Now, what does this look like in real practice? They know their 2 most important numbers, their calories and their protein. All right. And if you're doing this on your own, you can use this website here called tdecalculator.net, which essentially just uses a fancy formula to calculate your calorie and protein target based on your age, weight, height, and average activity level. It's very accurate. It's pretty accurate. So whatever it spits out for you, you can use that as a guideline. Okay. The fittest people also track their food instead of guessing or eyeballing it, so they always know where they stand. We all understand the value of tracking metrics, right? Tracking business metrics, tracking our finances, tracking our budget, tracking where we spend money, things like that. But it's the same concept just with food. If you just try to guess, you're not going to understand what you're actually putting into your body, and you could be way off, right? And so that could leave you stuck and frustrated. And so these people understand it deep enough to adjust on their own, whether they're at home, whether they're eating out with friends and family or coworkers, or they're traveling. Okay. And they also learn how to have the flexibility to still eat their cultural Asian foods instead of doing some short-term restrictive diet where they have to, use a ton of discipline to get there, but then they end up crashing and burning because it's not sustainable. They just know how to fit in their ideal foods into their daily calorie and protein goals. All right. Habit number 2 is they schedule fitness like an important meeting. All right. Now, why does this matter for a busy guy? When you work 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, you barely have enough time as it is. And so if you just try to fit in fitness into your routine whenever you can, it's not going to work because you're going to be too overwhelmed, too stressed out to even think about it, right? The workout that isn't scheduled is the workout that gets skipped the second work gets crazy or things happen. And so you need to schedule this in my calendar. As someone who works 10-hour days myself, 10, 12-hour days, I always make sure that I schedule fitness in my calendar first before anything else because it's a priority to me. And I mean, aside from the fact that I'm a fitness coach, like fitness is always going to be a priority for me, right? And so what this looks like in practice is you can block out your workouts into the calendar as actual events, not just a vague, like, okay, I'll remember to work out later. I'll go later this week. Like actually block it out and plan when you're going to get that workout in. And so those blocks are treated like a client meeting, but it's essentially just a meeting with yourself, right? You don't cancel on a client, so you don't cancel on this, all right? And so This is to make sure that fitness stops being something that you find time for. It becomes something that's already on your schedule. So that means scheduling everything from your workouts to your steps to your meals to anything so that it's automated, it's already there. You don't have to think about it, right? Because imagine trying to handle a busy, stressful work schedule where you're getting, fires and emails and all over the place. And then on the top of that, you're trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to eat for dinner tonight? When am I going to eat? Where am I going to go? Whoa, I haven't got my workout in yet. And it just gets overwhelming really fast. So that's why you need to plan ahead. Habit number 3 is they plan ahead for travel, restaurants, and client dinners. This is the part where most guys fall apart because these are all variables that are outside of normal circumstances, right? A work trip, a client dinner might be unplanned, or you might have a weekend out with friends and family and you might not know what to eat there. And so that's kind of what throws you off. And so the top 1% don't rely on willpower in the moment. They remove the decision before they even get there. So what this looks like in practice is, you can look at the menu ahead of time and find the high protein, lower calorie dishes, right? You could order foods to fit your macros and also strike that balance of enjoyment instead of just ordering whatever you feel like in the moment and then regretting it later, And so the good news is that there's a lot of different apps and tools and AIs that you can use now to get a rough idea of like Asian dishes that would be good. Some examples that come to mind are, lean beef based dishes, brisket based dishes, chicken based dishes with not too much sauce and oil, grilled dishes versus fried, right? Finding some of those poultry or meat based dishes is a really good start, right? And then of course, making sure that those dishes have a good amount of vegetables like Chinese broccoli or kimchi or bok choy, right? Any sort of, or bean sprouts, any sort of those things is a really good option to look for as well. And so the key is that the decision is made before you sit down so that the pressure of the table doesn't run the show, right? So I put some examples here, like I mentioned earlier, grilled versus fried items, less sauce, meat and veggie based dishes versus carb based dishes. So instead of getting like a lo mein or a fried rice dish like you normally would, get a meat based dish, a chicken based dish, or a veggie, or something that has a good amount of veggies in it, right? For travel and work trips, they book hotels with a gym so their routine doesn't break the second they leave the home, or they find ways to keep moving on the trip instead of just writing the whole week off and just not having any guidelines. The goal is not to be perfect on the road. This is something I tell my clients too, because I get asked about this quite often. They say, man, like what if I lose all my progress when I'm on the trip? I'm like, you won't, because your goal is not to continuously keep chipping away at your weight loss goal when you're away on the trip. The goal, more realistically, is to maintain what you've already gotten, right? That's what I tell my clients. And I've noticed that takes a lot of pressure off of them. And it's actually a much more sustainable, realistic goal to shoot for, because when you're away, you obviously aren't in regular circumstances. So you shouldn't expect to see normal results that you were when you were back home, but that's okay, right? You just do what you can. You commit to the non-negotiables that you can. And your goal is to just maintain where you're at so that once you get back, you're at neutral instead of 3-4 steps behind the 8 ball. That's the idea. Okay. Habit number 4, they train with weights and they don't just do cardio. This is a big one. I just had a client today who I talked to say that he was perplexed. Like he was trying to think of like, man, if I want to be in the best shape of my life, I feel like I'm putting in all of this work. Do I need to live in the gym? Do I need to like do more cardio? Do I need to work even harder to get the result? And the short answer I told him was, no, you don't. You just have this conception, this idea in your head that it needs to be difficult and that you need to be working hard all the time. But the thing about cardio is that it feels like hard work. It feels like you're actually doing something. You're breaking a sweat, right? You're getting your sweat on. You're burning some calories while you do it. Then it's done. It doesn't actually help you reshape your body to look lean and toned, and it doesn't help you maintain muscle. That's the issue with it. Cardio for cardiovascular health's sake is great. For sure, you can mix it in by doing sports or some other things you like to do. But if that's your sole way of exercising because you think it's going to help you with fat loss, you are mistaken. And so building a little bit of muscle is what makes you look lean and toned. And it also keeps burning calories for you even when you are at rest. So think of like I think of building muscle as kind of like building little real estate, right? If you own a real estate, if you own a rental property, the tenants in the property keep paying you their rent every single month as long as they're there, right? So then it becomes quote unquote passive income. I know it's not passive, but obviously there's some elements to that. Like you know, the renters are the one who are paying your mortgage and all that stuff, right? Muscle works the same way. Once you build it, it takes more effort to build muscle, but once you have it, it takes way less effort to maintain in terms of like how often you need to work out, etc. And it just continues to burn more calories for you. So every pound of muscle you build, you end up burning more calories at rest, which means that getting lean, staying lean is so much easier over time. I've been lifting weights for 12 years now, and so I have a lot of muscle mass in my body, but it took a while to get there, right? But now, you know, I have a lot more calories I can eat and still stay the same weight, and I also, you know, have good metabolic health because I put in the time to build that muscle. Okay. And so this is if you want to go for the toned athletic look, right? You don't want to look skinny. You also don't want to look like a bodybuilder. And so this is how you strike that balance. Now, what this looks like in practice is lifting a couple days a week. I would say 3 days a week as the foundation, while walking on top of that for movement. Okay. So what I tell my clients to do is to lift 3 days a week in the gym for anywhere from 45 to 60 minutes, and then do 8 to 10K steps per day, in addition to the workouts, regardless of whether you have a workout day or not. Okay. Doing the lifts properly and getting stronger a little bit over time is how you make progress, instead of like redlining yourself and grinding yourself with cardio until you're exhausted. That's not the way to go. It's about like challenging yourself, but not redlining yourself to the point where you burn out. Okay. And so you want to look for a routine that fits your busy week instead of eating it alive. And that's why I'm such a big proponent of like the 3 day a week workout schedule, because it is so flexible and it is actually very realistic for most people, even if you're really busy. Now, habit number 5, the top 1% fittest people in the world, fittest Asians, they play the infinite game, right? The reason this is so important is because most guys quit the second the scale stalls. The second they stop seeing the weight drop, they give up and they lose motivation. Usually right when it's about to work, right? And so the top 1% aren't chasing a finish line. They kind of see fitness as something they just do now for the rest of their life. It just becomes a lifestyle for them. It becomes a way of life. It becomes something that they do to invest in their health so that they can show up as the best version of themselves for their work, for their loved ones, for their friends, for everybody around them, right? So they see it as like a long-term investment. And this is the habit that ends a yo-yo cycle, because they're not trying to win. They're not trying to lose weight and like kind of reach a finish line. They're trying to play the infinite game. Now, what does that look like day to day? Because that's obviously kind of like pie in the sky, a little bit more abstract, right? What you want to do day to day is still track your progress with the scale and with your weekly progress photos to see those changes. But day to day, the clients of mine that are the most successful, and what I learned to do a long time ago, was to judge myself on what I can actually control, meaning how much food I eat, what I do with my training. Do I hydrate? How much recovery am I getting? Is my sleep dialed in? These are things you can control. Day-to-day fluctuations in your weight, stress from work, sometimes you can't really control that much, right? But you can control the basic core tenets. And so as long as you are nailing those things 100, and you are surely doing the best you can there, then you will eventually get the result you're after. Okay. And so the way I see the scale is feedback, not a verdict, right? If you focus on the inputs, then the outputs and the results will follow. You just have to make sure that you're doing the right inputs. And that's what people get help for, is to figure out, you know, kind of what they're doing wrong, what they're doing right, and what the most effective way is to break through. So bring it all together. These are the 5 habits: understanding nutrition on a deep level, scheduling your fitness like an important meeting, planning ahead for travel, restaurants, and client dinners, training with weights, not just cardio, playing the infinite game and focusing on your inputs. And of course, none of these are about willpower. They're about building a system that fits your real life. So next steps from here. If you're a busy Asian professional who's tried everything, right? You've tried the restrictive diets. You're sick and tired of doing another short-term stint. You want something that actually lasts this time, but none of the you don't feel like you're really getting the right resources from the advice you're seeing out there online, the generic advice, then this is exactly what we help guys fix. We've worked with over 300 Asian men at this point, and so we know a thing or two about how to implement these things. And so if you're interested in kind of like learning a little bit more about how this works, you can DM me the word age on Instagram. I'll have a link in the description below. It'll just be super chill. We'll just have kind of like a quick chat about where you're at, see if it's fit. But if not, no sweat. Feel free to keep watching the content. I'll be get tons of value from the video. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. And I will see you in the next video.